In 1492, the brave explorer Christopher Columbus brought civilization and enlightenment to the New World.
That is so false. That's completely false.
Okay, how about this? Columbus, a charming goofball who whoopsied his way into discovering America and...
That's also false.
Okay, let's try this. Columbus, yes, mistakes were made, but there were more positives than negatives, and he wasn't a bad guy, and...
He was a terrible guy.
Oh, God. I take it that this is going to be one of those painful but necessary conversations, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay then. Full Frontal presents the painful but necessary discussion of why we should replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day. Spoiler alert, he was a total dick.
As Americans, we have an obligation to know our full history of our country.
This is Representative Deb Haaland from New Mexico. Her 2019 win was historic because until now, no Native American woman had ever been elected to Congress. And she's one of the leaders fighting to replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day. I imagine it must be exhausting for you to have to explain to people over and over about why we should call it Indigenous Peoples Day.
Sure. I mean, it's 2019. Maybe we shouldn't have to be explaining that any longer, right?
Right. So why should we call it Indigenous Peoples Day?
Well, if we're truly wanting to celebrate the progress that we've made in this country, then Indigenous Peoples Day is completely fitting because we were meant to be completely either killed off or assimilated into mainstream society. And we're still here.
Native American contributions are vast, from brave World War II code talkers to our current poet laureate. Native Americans introduced foods we eat every day. They played essential roles in the environmental movement, and they created what is ironically our whitest sport. And unlike some non-American white guy who didn't even discover America and is also dead, there are 6.8 million Native American citizens who are very much alive.
We're still standing our ground and fighting for the things that we deserve. And if that's not a story of resilience, I don't know what is.
If we get rid of Columbus Day, what will happen to the tradition of, what are you doing on Columbus Day? Is it the one with the trees? Or is that the one where you eat challah?
You don't. You sleep in and you get a
The
day
tradition
off.
of sleeping in and getting a day off. Or...
You can still sleep in and get a day off.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a good selling point. But some people aren't buying it.
Can you imagine doing away with Columbus Day in New York State? Never
Absolutely
happened.
not.
Never.
I don't think most people know what Indigenous Peoples means.
Happy Columbus Day anyway. Enjoy it while you can. Your grandchildren won't even know it existed. Does your average protester know anything about Christopher Columbus?
Not sure. But if your average Fox viewer did, they'd probably hate him too. So let's put Columbus's arrival in terms that might resonate with them. Let's say a bunch of typical melanin-deficient dude bros are having a Sunday afternoon football party. Then...
What's up, dickheads? This is my party now.
But it wasn't. But they welcomed him anyways.
Oh, hi.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, guys. Hi.
Two things. First, this party, it wasn't even in North America. Columbus never made it here. Second, he thought he was in India.
Is this 523 India Street?
No, dude, this is 45 Caribbean Way. I think you got the wrong spot.
But as the beer cozy says, if you're at the wrong party, forcibly convert everyone to Christianity from their existing religion. Here, represented by football.
Football? Lame. Let me bring you some culture. Me doing CrossFit.
No, dude, we were watching that, actually.
Oh!
You like that? Look at that.
God, CrossFit sucks.
So does imposing Jesus stuff.
I call that planting the flag.
And that's the story of Columbus.
No, there was genocide committed against them. They were killed off with disease and massacre.
Okay, minor addendum. Columbus brought smallpox.
This beer tastes funny, man.
He also brought over 22 other new diseases that wiped out hundreds of thousands of people. Worse, he enslaved the indigenous population almost immediately.
You're never going home. Good news is I brought both kinds of music. Smash Mouth and Creed.
No, I think the actual history is much more horrific than what you've just described to me.
Okay, let's just rip off the Band-Aid. Columbus turned a lovely Sunday afternoon into a 90s rave from hell. Between the disease and a bloody, prolonged massacre, 95% of the population was wiped out. He paraded dismembered bodies through the streets. He trafficked women and children. His men held beheading contests. They stole infants from their mothers.
Sorry, can we cut?
What's the problem?
He's a fucking monster. It's the problem.
That you knew that he's a genocidal maniac.
No, I was raised white.
It was very sad and torturous history. that a lot of people don't think twice about.
Look, you've convinced me. I am on board. I think we should cancel Columbus. I think we should erase it from history.
Well, you can't say it didn't happen, though. It's something that we should never forget. We should learn about it as Americans. We need to know all of our history.
She's right. We can't erase history. So we here at Full Frontal set out to placate those who still want to honor the shittiness of Columbus. And what better way than to permanently memorialize him inside what the New York Daily News ranked the worst bar bathroom in New York City. So visit the Greenwich Treehouse Bar and the newly christened Christopher Columbus Crapoor, a fitting tribute to the true history of our nation's first genocide. While you're there, or frankly at any terrible bathroom across the country, take a hashtag Crappy Columbus selfie. Tag us and your representative. We have a whole year to let politicians know Columbus sucks and to support Indigenous Peoples Day.